Good afternoon and welcome to Deepblocks weekly webinar. My name is Michael Cavone, Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks. Today we will be exploring Chicago, Illinois, looking for development opportunities, specifically multifamily use. But before we begin, just going to give a few more minutes to allow some more people to jump on and join us this afternoon. And I do appreciate you taking the time to join us here at Deepblocks with our weekly webinar. I'm just going to share my screen and show you some key sections of our website. Please keep in mind at any time during the webinar, feel free to reach out to me via the chat, and you can ask me any question that you have on your mind, or if there's a certain aspect of the webinar that you want me to go back and review, or just, again, certain functionalities you want to discuss, please feel free to use the chat. Also, feel free to reach me at michael@deepblocks.com if you have any additional questions and I want to discuss the software a little bit further. Again, I do appreciate taking the time this afternoon as we get ready to explore Chicago. Right now, as you see on my screen, I'm currently at deepblocks.com. A lot of great sections and useful areas on our website to help you with your Deepblocks experience. If you go to the cities section, you'll notice the markets that we are currently in, or the cities that we are currently in. You'll notice the cities we have zoning data, as well as the cities that we have parcel level data. Currently have zoning in 43 U.S. cities throughout the country, and we have parcel level data in 1,000+ cities throughout the country. However, we are getting ready to launch about 57 more cities with zoning data throughout the country to get us over 100 cities with zoning data, and our goal is to be adding hundreds and hundreds of more cities by the end of the year. In addition, we'll continue to add parcel level data to more cities as well. We also have market data from construction costs, demographic data, opportunity zone, and various different layers to help with that. Your ability to use the market scanner on our software. Software is kind of broken into two interfaces. Our front end interface is that market scanner. It allows you to search parcels, refine your search to really find the parcel based on the criteria, your investment criteria, and quickly search in a matter of minutes. You can narrow down a search of thousands of parcels to a handful that meet your criteria. Again, you can turn on different types of layers, from a satellite layer to different market layers and map layers to understand the segment that you're looking at, the marketplace you're looking at. Once you select that parcel, you can then go into a preliminary underwriting and do a 3D modeling and financial analysis and various what-if scenarios to really understand and figure out the feasibility of a particular parcel in development on that parcel. So, and then once you kind of create that model, you can then export out to a PDF, a nice 4-page report, which you can share with your colleagues. So, again, here's the cities, as I mentioned, that we're in. You'll see a list right below. The webinar section, each and every week we upload these webinars, so you can quickly access them and view past webinars from previous weeks. We have tutorials, which are great 60-second clips and instructions on how to use different functionalities that are on the software, as well as new features that we continue to add. We also have our pricing. We're currently at $18,000 annually for our subscription, which is only going to get more expensive. Should be up to about $36,000 per year by the end of the year. So this is a great time to get in and be grandfathered in at that $18,000 a year mark. You'll be grandfathered in for life if you get a subscription now. And this is, you'll see, is my dashboard. This is what saves all my projects, and this will begin our search as we start exploring Chicago, Illinois. All right, so with that being said, we're going to jump into the search. We're going to start with Chicago, Illinois, and hit search engine. And one thing, just a couple things I'd like to note before we kind of really dive into the market scanner, and is that front end interface I was mentioning just a few minutes earlier. We always recommend people using Google Chrome for when they're using our software. Additionally, we'd like to mention to zoom out to, I use about 80%. Again, the more parcels you can capture on your viewport, the better you can enhance your search and really cover a larger portion of the market area. as you try to scan for properties based on your investment and development criteria. In addition to reducing your zoom or zooming out to like 80%, we also like to try to zoom out your actual viewport until you no longer zoom out. So if we get to a point where the parcels that are outlined in blue disappear, that means you zoomed out a bit too far and the search functionality will not work if the parcels do not appear. However, there are good reasons to zoom out to a point that you can get that macro level view of a different marketplace, which I'm going to exemplify right now. So as you can see, the blue parcels are no longer appearing. The search engine will not function, but we have certain map layers that function at this high level, which gives you a really good bird's eye, as I mentioned, a high level or macro view of a certain area. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. One layer I'm going to turn on, for instance, is our buildable, move the screen over a bit, is our buildable area ratio. So a great measure of understanding, pretty much locate density clusters and understand certain aspects of density. So right here you can see this is a very much certain type of density for buildable area ratio. Just one thing to keep in mind, anything that we have in our map layers is referenced here in our map legend, where you'll see how the data is sourced and how the data is represented. So as you can notice, this dark red is greater than 12 buildable area ratio. And then the gray is really no data here, but our lower buildable area ratios are in this yellow area. So with that being said, for instance, we can kind of start focusing in on this area. So there's a higher buildable area ratio. We'll zoom back in. And one thing I'm going to do, again, before the parcels reappear, I'm going to turn on one of the map layers in the people section, which is median income. And again, continue to get that macro level view of the different incomes throughout Chicago. And as you can see, as a heat map appears, you'll see the different median incomes throughout the area of Chicago. And these are a little bit more of a higher income here along the water. As you kind of go more inland, the incomes will drop down. So as these median incomes are a little bit on the lower side, 19,000, 16,000, I mean, these could be great areas for possible affordable housing or different opportunities for types of multifamily that we're looking to develop in today's webinar. So I'm probably going to focus in a little bit more on this area in this section. So I'm going to turn that median income heat map off. We're going to continue to zoom back in until those parcels reappear. I'm also going to turn that buildable area ratio layer off. And we're going to zoom in until the blue outlines reappear and we can kind of begin using our search engine. But before I jump into the search engine, just to quickly go through some of the sections of this market scanner front end interface, we have our tool set. Here's our satellite layer, which I'm going to demonstrate how to use shortly. This is our select parcel tool. You can select one parcel at a time, which allows you to select the parcel and see all that property info, the zoning data tied to that parcel. We also have an assemblage tool, so you can select multiple parcels at one time and evaluate multiple parcels and try to, again, do what if scenarios on, city block or whatever it may be when you select various parcels. We have our draw parcel tool, which is a very, very flexible tool and very helpful tool. Allows you to pretty much draw a parcel anywhere in the world. It allows you to still access our map layers and our market data, especially within the United States. And it allows you to move on to the preliminary underwriting and do the 3D modeling and the financial analysis. You can also use the draw parcel tool as a way of drawing parcels within a larger parcel. So for instance, you want to draw townhomes, single family homes, or various complexes within a bigger parcel. You can use the draw parcel tool. You have a copy and paste. You can just draw one of the parcels within that larger parcel, copy and paste it, and within seconds you'll have various units built out into this larger parcel. So with that being said, we're going to move down to this market scanner again, driving force behind this particular interface. You can search by zoning districts. We can search by uses allowed for just to give you a quick example. So here, multi-unit, we'll select that. Just in a matter of seconds, we see 474 parcels that are zoned for multi-unit. So it's just a quick way of going through general uses allowed that are zoned for this particular area. And again, this information applies to all the 43 cities we have zoning, which will soon be 100 cities with zoning. And then you can kind of start refining your search. So another way to go about this We're actually going to start for this search today by turning on units allowed, and I'm going to be searching for parcels that are zoned for a minimum 100 units allowed and more. So we put 100 in there, and just to give you a quick idea of this, how many parcels are within my viewport, roughly about 3,300 we're looking at right now. Turn that back off. We're going to turn the units allowed on. So we just went from 3,300 parcels within my viewport, turn the units allowed on that have at least 100 units or more, and we quickly find 138 parcels match that particular criteria. And with our export CSV, you could export out whatever parcels are matching based on your search. You can export it to a CSV file. You'll get a list of all the legal addresses along with about 15 additional columns of data tied to those parcels. It's a very, very strong reference in order to enhance your search and to begin your development process. So let's kind of take it another step further. We're going to look at lot size. We're going to look at parcels roughly around an acre or less. So the acre is about 4,560 square feet. I'm just going to put 45,000 in just for a quick estimation. And now you'll see we're down to 73 parcels. So again, we were just looking at 3,300 parcels in my viewport. And within a matter of minutes, I get down to 73 parcels matching that are zoned for at least 100 units allowed and under about an acre in size, or anywhere from 0 to an acre in size. So then we can kind of start using our map layers and begin to look for a parcel that might make the most sense based on our criteria. So I'm going to move my screen around a little bit. We're going to look at some of these different map layers. We look at opportunity zones to see if there's any opportunity zones that we could potentially develop in. As my screen gathers, you can see down here we have one particular parcel within this opportunity zone. I'm just going to continue my screen around, kind of like browse the area to see what makes the most sense. Scrolling a bit more. And we're going to kind of start working on a more of a micro level and really get a better understanding of this particular marketplace. I'm going to actually go back to this people layer, and we're going to turn that median income back on and kind of focus in on where different incomes are that we were originally looking at when we started our search a few minutes ago. As those parcels gather, so again, it makes more sense to look for multifamily development play in this particular area of Chicago. Move over a little bit more and continue to. I'm going to stay right around this area and start zooming in. Try to really find a particular parcel that makes the most sense to me for developing multifamily. Move over a little bit more, see what other parcels come up. So now we're down to 2 parcels in this particular area that, again, are zoned for at least 100 units and a lot size between 0 and 1 acres. As you can see, I quickly move my screen around and quickly the screen updates and provides me with the parcels that are matching based on that criteria. Another way of also understanding and studying this marketplace is this particular segment. What you can do is we can go to a micro level and look at, we can continue to scroll in. We can look at the demographic trends. So we're pulling census data for these different trends. And you'll see as the screen updates, the trend lines will be reduced to just a handful of trends based on the census tracts of this particular part of Chicago. And it's a very quick way of, again, understanding trends, for instance, like population. So if you put your mouse over the different shades, we can better understand the census tracts and the trends in these areas. So this particular parcel that I'm looking at right now is in 8381, and I can turn these other trends off, focus in on the 8381. This is actually a drastic population decline, so this might not make the most sense for doing a multifamily development play. So again, we can continue to move our screen around and try to find a better area to build in. I'm going to zoom back out. And just again, this is just a quick way of scanning through the area, trying to really locate what makes the most sense for our development of multifamily based on different criteria and guidelines we are trying to focus in on. Just going to continue my screen around. One particular area that I'm trying to focus in on. That I was interested in, I saw earlier in the day. I believe it was over here. Here we go. All right, there's a particular area in Chicago near this park where I saw some potential. And here we go. This particular parcel is in an opportunity zone. And again, based on the median income, I turn that heat map on. It's 47,000, so solid median income. Now I'm going to really scroll back in, go back to that micro level perspective and view and understand what's going on in this particular census tract. So this is going to be 8433. We're going to turn these off. And you can see in the past 8 years, there's been a relatively strong incline in population, a slight decline in recent years. Just to give you a little update, we are working on updating this through 2020 as the census did finally release that data in its entirety. So we will update our database shortly. So this will be from 2010 through 2020. And just some other trends we can look at. We can look at median gross rent. So again, we're looking at that 8433. So turn off the other census tracts. And you can see 8433 showing a solid increase in gross rent. So again, this is a little bit more of a better potential play and development play for this particular example and what I'm trying to identify. So the next step would be to select this parcel. And what happens here is we get our property information, median income, our property address, some zoning information, 2 FAR, units allowed is 101, our unit density, parking by use, general use allowed, and then the specific uses breakdown. And lastly, setbacks. So once we kind of go through that information, we can also review. We could also, one thing I also like to do too sometimes is turn on that satellite layer. And what the satellite layer just does is helps you identify and truly confirm what's on these particular parcels. And we also have the street view as well to confirm and validate different selections of parcels. Turn this around. Looks like this is a vacant lot right here. So again, this confirms what we're seeing in our property info. I mentioned it looks like it says existing building. We have no data for the existing building. So we can now continue our preliminary underwriting. We're going to do a multifamily play. And now we go into this next interface, which is our Explorer and our 3D modeling and financial analysis. It's a 1-year back of the envelope return on cost. And again, this is a very, very impactful tool we have with Deepblocks. I mean, it allows you to generate various what-if scenarios. You can do various iterations. You can look at a multifamily play, multifamily retail, different mixed use, and truly try to understand and figure out and generate these financial analysis that brings you the best return on cost and what makes the most sense for this particular development play. And then once you kind of go through the defining your building and entering your assumptions, you can then export out to a PDF report and share that report with your colleagues. If there's multiple users with Deepblock accounts, you can send the projects back and forth, and you guys can adjust as you see fit and then share those adjustments with each other. Again, as I mentioned, also you could copy a project. So we could go through this iteration of a multifamily play, look at the results, export that file, that PDF report. We can copy that project, then do a multifamily with retail or multifamily office, whatever it may be, and then evaluate that iteration to see if that brings us a better return on cost, export that report, and now you can have various what if scenarios to understand what makes the most sense for development. So one of the first things we like to look at, again, I mentioned we show the property info on the front end interface. It also carries through to this back end interface, so we can kind of see the zoning information. The buildable area is 80,517 square feet, FAR2. Building height is 45 to 47 feet. So if you look right here, our building height is only at 24 feet. So we have about 20 more feet we can add to this building. So one of the quickest ways to doing that is we can increase our setback. So we can go all the way up, and you'll see, I'll show you real quickly, as I increase that setback, the building height automatically updates. Right now it's at 54 feet, so we're a little too high. So right there, at 24.6, we're at 44 feet. So that's perfect. It falls right underneath that building height based on the zoning limit. Currently, we had a 2 FAR, but the next thing I noticed when you look at your key performance indicators, your KPIs down here, we see there's only 58 total units currently in this building. So we go down to our adjust assumptions, and we can adjust this because we're allowed 101 units. So we're going to do 101 units. Now you'll notice as I enter that in 101 units, the FAR now jumps up to 3.39. We're at 7 floors, and our building height is probably a little bit too high. So let's go back up and we can check. We're at 74 feet. So again, how do you adjust and fix for this? We can work on the gross buildable for these 2 bedrooms. So we can say maybe they're going to be 650 square feet, and we can work it. And again, just quickly adjust these assumptions and try to work it so that we can actually get back underneath these height restrictions. So now we're back at 44 feet. So 650 square feet works very well. Gets us at 44 feet. Our FAR is at 2.17 with parking, so a little bit on the higher side. So again, we have to probably adjust a little bit more. We can also reduce our amenities to about 2,500 square feet. But let's drop this down to 600. Now we're at 1.96. But then we can go back to the setbacks. So the point is you can kind of manipulate your model to really define the building to fit within these zoning guidelines and zoning regulations. I mean, we're staying within the 44 feet, so that's good. We're right underneath that 2 FAR. So for the most part, we're looking very good in accordance to the zoning guidelines for this particular parcel. We also now go to that parking. I can put 1.5 in. So it's 1 space per unit. Now we're at 2.84 FAR. So again, we're a little bit over if we're going to put parking underneath. So let's say for this example, we're just going to leave parking on the ground in the open area space around. So another way of also studying this particular model, you go to the return analysis section, you'll see the breakdown of income, your OpEx, your NOI, and there you'll see your ROC, which matches your ROC here on your KPI bar. We go to the assumptions, now you can kind of see the true breakdown and analysis of the property building. So open space area is 18,000 square feet. So what a lot of our users will do, we can calculate the amount of parking that you can provide on the ground based on that open space area. Our building footprint's at 22,000 square feet. So just again, this is very interactive. So as you update and adjust your assumptions here in this panel, it automatically updates in your return analysis. So once you kind of go through that iteration, so this is on the property side. You can also just keep in mind, so we go back to the multifamily area. We adjusted the amount of units. We're at 101. We adjusted the gross buildable. We can also adjust the income. Say in this particular area, 3,100 might be. And this is pre-populated with a sub-market value. However, we leave it flexible so you can adjust it. Maybe it's a little bit on the higher side based on what we're trying to market for that particular median income. So let's bring this down to maybe 2,750. So obviously it's going to affect our ROC a bit, but not too much. We're still at 7.3% return on cost, which is not too bad. And we'll see our vacancy at 4%, OpEx at 35%. And then we can go into our project cost. So maybe we can negotiate and get this property for a little bit less than 6. Let's see, we got 6.1 million. Maybe we can get it for 5.7. Someone's got some, we can negotiate properly. Then we can adjust our demolition costs. Considering it's vacant land, we probably drop this to 0. And we have our soft costs at 15%, and then our dollar per square foot for hard costs is at $226. Again, maybe something we can negotiate and work out, get down to $200 per square foot. Again, these are some market values that are pre-populated based on this area. We at Deepblocks pride ourselves on our ability to pull in very current data using our machine learning and bringing very strong baseline of information for our users to, again, understand a particular area in the marketplace. So you'll see by just adjusting these assumptions, for this particular iteration, we got a nice 4-story building, 101 units, but an ROC 8.14%. So I'm pretty comfortable with this scenario. One of my next steps I like to do is I want to produce a report, and we can enter who it's from, who it's going to, write up a little summary, choose our cover image, which maybe is a rendering of this particular parcel or the picture of this parcel. We can upload our own logo, and then adjust the color palette based on our company. I'm going to generate the stock report for you so you can just get an idea of this 4-pager. So this is a very useful report to share amongst colleagues and work with investors, even bring to an architect and kind of work with different or various partners during the development process. So you'll see here, you can upload a different image here that you want. You can your logo would go here, your colors would change in these background spaces, your summary goes there. It'll say who it's prepared by, who it's prepared for. And then you see page 2 is a little bit of a property info, zoning summary, and a stacking plan. And we have some demographic trends that we were studying on that front end interface. And lastly, we do that financial breakdown. This is the 1-year back of the envelope return on cost. We do have a question. So a very good question. Does your system work anywhere in the US? There's a few answers for that. So currently we have the system works. If you want the zoning data, we're in 43 cities. So if you're looking to search by zoning data, or you're looking to pull that zoning data through, that portion with the zoning data works in 43 cities currently. But the financial modeling, the map layers, they work throughout the entire country. So they really will work in any city. In terms of the parcel level data, we're in 1,000+ cities. So you pretty much can go to those 1,000+ cities. There's still a little bit of a search functionality where you can search by zoning district. Now, you won't get the zoning information in those 1,000+ cities for parcel level information, but you'll get the parcel level information. You'll get again, map layers that are tied in the demographic information, market data, construction costs for those areas, as well as you still do the financial modeling, 3D modeling and financial analysis. So essentially, Deepblocks works anywhere really in the world. Again, you can draw a parcel pretty much anywhere in the world and utilize our financial modeling. But within the United States, it pretty much works throughout the country. And as I mentioned, as you go to the cities with zoning, it just enhances the product a little more, as well as the cities with parcel level data. So there's just more and more enhancements and detail as you go into these specific markets that we do have zoning and, again, parcel level data. Thank you for the question. I appreciate that. And again, just to quickly show you, if you go back to deepblocks.com and you go to our cities section, you'll see we have a map that shows you exactly where we have zoning, cities with zoning level data sets. So anything with a red mark and anything with a blue dot means we have parcel level data. So that just gives you a good representation. And as I mentioned, all the market data, demographic data, construction costs, that carries throughout the entire country. So it does not really matter where you want to do your analysis. So you pretty much could draw a parcel right here in the middle of the country, and you still will be able to use the modeling and get some market data. So, all right, so going back. We go back to, this is the report, as I mentioned. But just to show you, I mean, we could copy this project. And now we can go through another what if scenario for this particular parcel. I'm not going to go through the entire process, but just to show you quickly how you can, again, evaluate another iteration of this particular parcel and development play. If we say we want to now evaluate multifamily with retail, we can just simply turn on retail. You'll notice the retail layer is automatically added. You'll see your RLC is automatically updated. You can now go into assumptions, and we can go to now our retail tab. We can adjust this. Say we want to do 8,000 square feet of retail, and you can start again manipulating that model to enhance this particular development play and see what the scenarios are. Now, again, we got to obviously abide by the zoning guidelines and limits that are in place. So we're a little bit too above our FAR. But once again, you can start adjusting and playing with the different numbers and gross buildable, and we can reduce the unit mix above. Maybe that makes more sense to have some retail and reduce the amount of units. Again, it just depends on the scenario, depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But the main premise behind the software is to quickly go through these scenarios, and analyze in a very accurate manner what makes the most sense for potential play on these parcels. And as I mentioned, just to do a quick little recap, in Chicago, Illinois, obviously it's right now throughout the country, the housing market is very hot. And these major markets, the tremendous help to have a piece of software allow you go search thousands and thousands of parcels, narrow it down based on your search criteria. If it's lot size, if it's units allowed, if it's median income, or if it's median rent that you're trying to charge, and kind of hone in on a particular area, then study that area with the map layers that Deepblocks provides. Pick that parcel, or pick a handful of parcels, and you can just do one parcel, do a development play on it, go to this interface, do a preliminary underwriting, kind of study the scenarios, again, export a report, go back to the market scanner, look at another parcel. Before you know, you're comparing various different parcels, various different development plays in a matter of minutes. Instead of it taking weeks, months, passing it along to consultants or architects or market analysts, you're literally doing at the touch of your keystroke and use of the mouse, and literally going through the process in a matter of minutes and really identifying the property with the most potential. So, again, if anyone ever wants to learn a little bit more and go into more depth, or literally explore a certain area that they have interest in, or a certain use they have interest in, feel free to reach out to me, Michael at Deepblocks.com. You can sit down and again do a Zoom call and go through a one-on-one demo. Again, feel free to always reach out to me and recommend different topics for webinars. We are always looking for new ideas and new exciting cities to evaluate and scan, and go through our scenarios to show you how Deepblocks does work throughout the country. Again, we do appreciate taking the time and joining us as we explored Chicago today, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and hope to see you again next week. Have a good one. Take care. We do have another question. Can you rotate the buildings to the retail? So it's a very good question. The way it's set up, we can rotate the screen, but we cannot. It's preset that the retail just goes in on the bottom layer. So unfortunately, that retail is going to show up in the same place for most buildings. Really, just to give you an idea of what can fit underneath. It's not supposed to be built to, it's not necessarily a generative design where it's very specific detail. It's more of a 3D massing, just to give you an idea of what you can add and really just understand the financial analysis. So just keep in mind, it's more of a high-level litmus test. Truly understand what we can bring, what layers you can add to a particular project and evaluate that project. So again, I hope everyone does have a great afternoon. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions, Michael at Deepblocks.com. And again, I do appreciate your time. Take care.